sustainability is vital for the overall climate plan. If we don't have targets met for sustainability, we likewise won't have targets met for meeting our climate plan.
To me personally, for me, my big motivation is ecological justice. I think that human impact is reducing the ability for life on Earth, for diversity of life on Earth. So for me, the big motivation is how do we reduce our footprint so that other life can thrive?
Well, I think the evidence is, I know the evidence is obvious. We have to make a change. We have to think beyond our generation. When it really hit home for myself was when my son was born. Over 8 years ago now, or actually before that, when we found out we were having a child, that's when my thinking started to change. And you start to realize that, at least in my experience, is that I want to leave this place better than it was when I showed up. So for me, it's personal, and I think if we're going to make a change, it has to be personal, because for the most part, we're human, right? So we're always thinking of ourselves and what do we have to do to survive. And there's so many things nowadays that will affect us short term, but actually, could be positively, but harm us or people after us long term. And we need to be thinking differently.
I think the performance of homes and transportation make up like 80% of all our energy, all the greenhouse gas emissions that we make. Homes are about 40% of the total. So, buildings make up 40% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. So we've got to proportion out every bit, from residential homes to commercial buildings, large and small, brand new ones and retrofitting ones, to ensure that we reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. It's all part of the overall plan, so we have to do our part with residential homes.
Well, I think they really help to socialize ideas. They pull the public in. Having it here is great. There's a lot of flow-through traffic, in a location like this. People around Lansdowne checking this out to see what's up. And that's important to bring about change.
I think a lot of it is just knowing who to call, right? A lot of people have the interest in doing the right thing, or have curiosities, but don't know where to start, don't know who can help them. And this sort of showcase gives people an opportunity to learn who in this, where the supports lie, which contractors can help them, what is the most important place to start. So often in my role at the city, the question I get is, where should I do first, right? And so we can, by doing the modeling that we've done and the sort of strategy and planning and road mapping about how we get to zero carbon, we can tell folks that answer very clearly, right? These are the number 1, 2, and 3 steps that you need to take, and these are the supports that are available from different levels of government as well as from the private sector in order to achieve those outcomes.
Well, I think it continues to get the message out there, but at the same time, it creates momentum because it gets people who maybe wouldn't have crossed paths working together. So they can then potentially join forces and have a bigger impact moving forward.
Events like this give us a chance to really kind of have conversations with the public and with residents in Ottawa to kind of discuss what's the latest on our side of things in terms of the industry, but then also get the questions and get the responses from residents about what they want, what they're looking for, what they can, what are the questions or what are the things that they haven't thought about but are options and solutions that are out there that they're going to learn for the first time by coming here, talking to a lot of the builders and renovators and services that are here that are focused on energy efficiency, because maybe it's a good opportunity. You want to do something with your house, say, or your next house. Maybe you're thinking about going into a new house, and you don't know necessarily even what to ask. All you know is that, geez, there's got to be something. And so one of the biggest benefits, I think, is being able to come here, having all your questions, or really saying, educate me about what is there in terms of options for a house or for my house that I have currently, and there's plenty of answers here.
Think about as from a consumer standpoint, because we are a capitalist society, we'll never get around that. We need to start making the right decisions, when we're purchasing stuff. You know, if you need a car, make sure it's an EV. Do you need a car in the first place? Maybe you should be walking or taking the bus, and maybe transit's a better solution. You know, on that. You know, when you're going into the store and you're thirsty, okay, you know, try to find something that's not made out of plastic. You know, when you look at buying a chocolate bar, you know, we need to make sustainability a core part of our purchasing decision.
Well, I think a simple one around climate change is don't burn things. That's just whenever you're thinking about how we stop climate change, stop combusting everything. It's the physics are simple. The products of combustion cause climate change.
I think it's making that choice of choosing, the energy efficiency performance, making that a valuable part of your choice. Either, again, what you're spending money on in terms of your retrofit, or you're spending money on in a new home, as opposed to, say, something that's a pretty granite countertop, or something, something cosmetic versus the actual performance of your house, which will give you a better return on investment in the operating side over however many years you're there.
The best thing people can do to decarbonize their life is to insulate their homes and reduce their emissions from driving or from transportation generally. So, whether that be bicycling, taking transit, buying an electric car, reducing your flying, those are all, transportation and buildings are our two biggest impacts. So those are the things that we ask people to start with.
Final thoughts is to learn to think for yourself. Do your own research. There's so much stuff out there, especially if you follow mainstream media, that basically tell you what to think. And I think, and I know that we need to think differently. We need to think for ourselves. We need to make decisions for ourselves, as opposed to relying on politicians or somebody in a big business, whoever it may be, even me, right? Don't agree everything that I say. Go out and do your own research and ask your own questions, and then make a conscious decision for yourself.
I was really pleased with how the day went. We always get good comments from the builders. We always have a list of questions, and we never kind of stay on list. It always gets into a better conversation on stage than ever we could have thought about planning out. And again, questions from the audience always makes it better as well, because it really get to hit home on what's top of people's mind.
I'm really happy this event's on, and I think it keeps getting better and better, and influencing things in the right way more and more. And this is great. We need to keep up.
One final thought is, we can't do this as individuals alone. We need to do our part, but we also need to be working collectively to demand more of our governments. And so collective action is also key for that, right? Making sure that climate change is front and center in the minds of politicians and representatives, and also your large sort of corporations. Like, they need to be held accountable too, through environmental and social responsibility and sort of investor, engagement. So yeah, do your part, but also be heard.